In this video, I will be open to both parties, be it Rhaenyra, the prostitute whose legitimacy has been tainted by bearing children from another family, or Aegon, who cannot even bear the responsibility of a pigsty. But who deserves the throne? The green or the black team? Every character between the two extremes has many influences. For example, when Rhaenyra takes power, the right of succession passes to her eldest son Jacaerys, who is not a Valyrian. Rhaenyra has tarnished her own legitimacy, but does this mean that Rhaenyra has no right to rule? If you think this video is like any other, you are wrong. I advise you to watch the whole video, because in the last part of the video, you will know the answer with evidence of who deserves to inherit the Iron Throne. Now let me tell you more about the laws of succession to the throne in Westeros.
History does not remember blood, it remembers names. What dreams didn't make us kings?
Does the black group have the right to the throne? The question everyone is asking, but I will be honest with you, cannot be answered without knowing the concept of inheritance in Westeros. What is the concept of inheritance in Westeros? The inheritance of the throne, in the world of George Martin, has many principles that differ from one region to another. And in Westeros, there are several customs for the inheritance of the throne. This custom is not a natural system, but it has been known to people for thousands of years. But what did George Martin say about the concept of inheritance? In an interview with George Martin, he said that the laws of inheritance in Westeros are similar to the laws of inheritance in the Middle Ages. These laws leave room for people to contradict themselves. But what is the most important factor that determines the question of inheritance in Westeros? The most important factor is the sex of the child. Is it male or female? Since men are favored in Westeros, the male child is more entitled to the inheritance. But does that mean that the Greens are more deserving to inherit the throne? Bro, there are more complicated things going on, so you will find out the answer to this question at the end of the video. So all you have to do now is listen. There is a hereditary right to the throne that contradicts the male right to precedence in the right to the throne, which is that a lord has the right to choose the heir. In other words, if you are a lord in Westeros and you have 3 sons, you can choose the 3rd son to inherit after you, bypassing the eldest son, and you can also bypass him with other tricks, such as making him a night watch, like Sam Tarly. So, as I said, the first is the man's right to inherit the throne, and the second is that the lord chooses from among his children who will be his heir. However, these customs are not applied throughout Westeros. The region around the throne of Dorne, for example, is a different region, and there is no difference between men and women in the succession to the throne. The Iron Islands also have special customs regarding the right to the throne, known as Kingsmoot. More importantly, the Lord can manipulate the law of succession and choose the heir he wants. Tywin Lannister, for example, has 2 sons, the eldest, Jaime Lannister, and the second, Tyrion Lannister. Jaime was a member of the Royal Guard, and his joining the Royal Guard prevents him from inheriting the Lannister family, as the right of inheritance should actually go to Tyrion Lannister, but Tywin Lannister has nevertheless chosen Jaime as the heir to the family. Bro, all the words I have now said about the customs of Westeros and the customs of succession in Westeros have room for manipulation. I can manipulate them all I want and convince you that the black group deserves the throne. But the Iron Throne thing is a bit different, because people always say that women can't inherit the Iron Throne. Only men have the right to the throne. But bro, I'm willing to shock you now, because the Targaryen family has different ideas about inheriting the Iron Throne than Westeros, because they come from Valyria. So let me tell you about the inheritance customs in Valyria now, so we can find out who has the right to inherit the Iron Throne. Do women in Valyria have the right to inherit the Iron Throne? If we want to answer this question, we need to delve deeper into the history of the Targaryen family. So let me tell you about King Aegon I Targaryen. King Aegon I Targaryen had 2 sons, Aenys and Maegor. The heir to the throne is Aenys, the eldest son. Aenys' first son, a girl called Rhaena, was placed before her uncle, Maegor, in the line of succession. This means that she inherits the throne before the second son of King Aegon, So a woman was appointed heir to the throne before Rhaenyra and Rhaenys. What I want to say is that the woman inherits the throne in the Targaryen family. Even when Jaehaerys was king on the Iron Throne, there was a woman at his side who ruled with him, namely his wife Alyssa. Yes, she was not heir to the throne, but she was also a queen with the same abilities as her husband Jaehaerys. But what you don't know about the first episode is that it showed us who deserves the throne, but few realize that. In the first episode, we saw the Great Council where Jaehaerys gathered all the lords of Westeros after making numerous demands to inherit the Iron Throne after the death of his sons Aemon and Baelon. After the death of Aemon, they ignored his daughter, Rhaenys, so the inheritance of the throne passed to Baelon. When Baelon later died, there were two claims as to who should inherit the throne after him. The first claim is Rhaenys, and the second claim is Viserys. This claim is made before the entire lords of Westeros. He left the choice of the future king to them, but since Viserys is a man, they chose him to inherit the throne, even though Rhaenys deserved the throne. But why does Rhaenys have the right to inherit the throne? Because she is Aemon's daughter, but they also ignored her again because she is a woman and not a man. What I am saying is that the Iron Throne rejected Viserys, so we saw him come down with a disease that caused him to die, because the Iron Throne is known in mythology for rejecting anyone who does not want to sit on it. So Viserys rejected because the Iron Throne knows that the right of inheritance belongs to Rhaenys, not Viserys, so the throne rejected it. I believe that all the problems and revolutions afterwards were caused by Viserys. Because if the rightful heir, Rhaenys, was on the throne, there would be no conflict between the Blacks and the Greens, because the Iron Throne would accept her as ruler of Westeros. But bro, the point does not stop there, because what I am saying is that the question of inheritance and legitimacy is one of the most complex and contradictory issues in Westeros, because there is no clear law. The lords of Westeros are guided by interests when choosing their future heir. But I still have not talked about the main topic of the video, and for that I apologize, because I have only given you an introduction to the topic so far, so that you know and understand when I tell you the main topic. So now I am going to tell you who's right, the Blacks or the Greens. Bro, I am tired of creating content because I spend all my time talking about movies and series, but the results are low. And my goal is for 50,000 people to watch this video, but bro, without your support for the content, I cannot reach the goal. So all you have to do is support the channel by subscribing to it and sharing the video with your friends to help me reach 50,000 views. I would like to tell you about Rhaenyra, the eldest daughter of King Viserys. She is the Princess of Dragonstone, the heir to the Iron Throne and the only person to whom all the lords of Westeros bow. However, do not take my words as biased against the Blacks, but rather as an account of the facts that happened in the story. The second party is Prince Aegon, the first male son of King Viserys. No one bowed down to him. The man is favored over the woman in Westeros, but still, no one in Westeros bows to him. This gives rise to the conflict between the two parties. Each character between the two parties has many inputs. For example, when Rhaenyra takes power, the right of succession passes to her eldest son, Jaehaerys, who is not from the Valyria family but from the Strong family. In other words, the rule will pass from the Valyria family to the Strong family. In other words, Rhaenyra has tainted her legitimacy with 3 illegitimate children. If the rulers of Westeros knew about this matter, their attitude would change completely. But does this mean that Rhaenyra has no right to rule? What I'm saying is that the second party also has problems, and the problem is that Aegon was not made to be a ruler and a fighter. In other words, he is a boy and not a wise man. He was not raised to read books, and his biggest concern is masturbation off the top of Westeros Castle. The basic idea I want to get across to you is that there are flaws on both sides. The Blacks have flaws, and the Greens have flaws too. One of Rhaenyra's shortcomings is also that she believes she is descended from dragons and is above humans, but I do not blame her for that, because that belief exists among members of the Targaryen family, whether Rhaenyra or Daenerys. But after all I have said before, am I on the side of the Blacks or the Greens? From my point of view, Rhaenyra has some legitimacy, because she at least has a will from her father that her offspring should produce the promised prince. Therefore, the king's choice of heir is something that must come first in the hierarchy of arguments put forward. However, this does not mean that Rhaenyra has not tarnished this right to the throne. Every angle will lead to a different result. In other words, there is no single point of view, but the matter is more complicated than that. So, are you on the side of the blacks or the greens? Tell me in the comments, but also give your reasons. Peace.